This week, we're going to see Mars, the planet of war, aggravation, irritation, and severing, begin to activate the Saturn-Uranus square. This is when we're going to start to see a little bit more contentious manifestations around this Saturn-Uranus square, which is governing this entire year, basically. This is the defining transit of 2021. You can learn all about that in my longer extended video on the Saturn-Uranus square. But what Mars is going to do is it's going to add heat. It's going to add friction. It's going to add a ton of irritability and even combustibility, because that can be what happens when Mars squares off with Uranus. So we're going to start to see a lot more action happening around this week. Mars also rules police officers. So I think this week we actually had the ruling over the George Floyd murder, and the officer was convicted and sentenced to 22 and a half years. So hopefully this is setting a new precedent. I know we can't get our hopes up too much, but hopefully it's setting some kind of new precedent that this kind of behavior won't be tolerated. So overall, the Saturn-Uranus square is about changing the system, but the old ways aren't going to go down without a fight. So I expect that this Mars creating a little bit more heat and friction with this aspect, we're going to start to see a lot more antsiness around the things that need to change and haven't changed. Namely, I think we're going to see more protests. I think we're going to see more activism happening around some of these topics. I know that there's also a huge growing concern around radical weather. We've been seeing a lot of that around the Saturn-Uranus square. When it was first exact last February, we had the extreme cold happening in the south of the United States. And now we're starting to see temperatures rise in the west. And so that's definitely a growing concern. That definitely kind of blends into a lot of the environmental concerns that are affecting us on a broader level with this Saturn-Uranus square, especially as Uranus and Taurus is about kind of finding ways to use technology to live in greater harmony with the environment. So we're definitely going to probably look forward to more issues related to weather. Also, police. I think that that's going to be a big one that we see. And I think another layer we can add to this is just obviously what Saturn in Aquarius has been about up until very recently, as it kind of lets off the brakes a little bit, is about the pandemic and social distancing. So I'm wondering what Mars initiation with this Saturn-Uranus square is going to do in terms of that. So we'll just kind of have to watch and see. Very often, Mars in an opposition with Saturn can represent frustration, because what we want to do is we want to move forward. There are things that we want to do, but there is this rule or this block in our way that is preventing movement from being easier or even accessible at all. So I think that there's definitely going to be some kind of storyline around what we're able to do. And I know that a lot of us have been getting a lot of our life back, and that's been awesome, but the story is not over. So I'm wondering what we're going to see in terms of limitation and that friction between the desire to go forward and this presence that's telling us to kind of wait or take it slow. I think another thing we can expect to see as Mars ignites the Saturn-Uranus square is vigilante justice and cyber attacks. I know a few weeks ago when we had the exact Saturn-Uranus square, there was a cyber attack on a meatpacking plant, probably by vegans and vegetarians or something. But I think that Saturn in Aquarius, this is the internet's Saturn return. So I think that we could definitely expect to see some kind of hacking or cyber vigilante justice of some kind. So definitely take a look at that if you need to make your passwords better. Fixed signs. This is going to be you, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. You guys are going to be feeling this the most. This is happening in a very intimate way in your chart. And I know many of you fixed signs, you've just been feeling stuck. You've been feeling like, I am stuck in this situation and I'm not sure how to get out of it, because we know that change is the most difficult for you fixed signs. You get comfortable, and sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil that you don't know. But I'm talking to a lot of you, and I know that there's this other possibility that's allowing you to have more freedom, more wiggle room, more possibility, but it's really hard for you to fully embrace that because it's the unknown. So this could really mark a time when Mars is giving you that push where you're like, I can't take it anymore. Like, I have to do something different. I have to just take a leap of faith, Jupiter and Pisces, and go for it and see what happens, because it's going to get to that point for you fixed signs where your current situation becomes too confining and too limiting, and you literally have to try something out of your comfort zone. And even though that isn't the most comfortable feeling for you, it's better than right now. So Mars is going to be creating a little bit more irritation, so that if you haven't taken that full leap into your new life yet, this is definitely gonna give you that nudge that you have to, and it's not gonna feel that great. I'm just gonna warn you, but it can be really positive in terms of, Mars gives us courage. It's about initiative, and it's about just going for it. It's the gas pedal. And so sometimes we just have to take that courageous leap. So Mars in Leo too, it's about, aligning with what's most important in your heart right now. And so I think some of the difficulty that Mars and Leo is going to bring up as a whole, as it agitates this Saturn-Uranus square, is this idea of pride. And not wanting to change because not wanting to be wrong, or not wanting to feel like you did something wrong. I think it's really important that people recognize that what you did wasn't necessarily wrong, perhaps. It's a learning, and we're in process. And I think many of us are very focused on the destination versus the process. And that's okay. Some of us are wired to be more goal-oriented than others. Well, some of us are about the journey. And I think we can kind of lean into that right now, that it's about the journey. When we're in this juncture of significant change in our life, it's not about being wrong or feeling like you wasted your time. It's about the experience. So remember that, our lives are short. We are not here for very long. So why stay in a situation where you're not happy? Take a leap. So Mars is going to be inviting many of us to finally make that big leap into the unknown, or maybe it's known, but we just don't know how it's going to turn out yet. And that's part of the beauty of life too, in its own weird way. So that is your Mars square Uranus and opposite Saturn astrology shot of the day. And I hope you have a great week, and I will catch you again next time. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're looking for more astrology in your world, you can book your reading with me at my website, or connect with me on Instagram and Twitter at AstroCatherine.